Hello and welcome to Developers 10 by Newton School. I am 𝐏𝐚𝐲 𝐀𝐟𝐭𝐞𝐫 and in today's video we are going to continue our UI component library series. I'm sure you must have seen the videos for Dropdown, for buttons, for reusable cards. If not, you can watch on my channel the videos. The links will be in the description for you. So let's continue with the series, and today we are going to create something which is very much usable in your websites. It's pop-ups. So you must have seen modals, pop-ups everywhere, all the websites that you visit. You must have seen for those for subscribing to our mail list, for cookies, for success message, for failure and whatnot. So it's obvious that modals and pop-ups has a wide range of use cases, and it's good that you know how to create them. So in this video, I'll be making a modal from scratch and I'll be teaching you how you can do so, that you can use in your every project. So without any further delay, let's get started. I'll show you a demo and then we'll start with the coding part. But before starting, a huge thanks to Newton School for helping me make this video. Newton School is a platform where you can learn coding, you can get a job, and you don't have to pay anything before you get a job. So do check them out. They have great programs for you where you can learn as a developer and get better placements. So the link will be obviously in the description. Check out Newton School and let's get started with making modals and pop-ups for our website. Hope you like this video, so make sure you have subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of these videos whenever I put them on my channel. So if you have any doubt by the end of this video, make sure that you comment so that I can help you out. Let's go. What kind of modal we are going to build in this particular video. So as you can see, this is a button, open modal. It could be any button on your project. It could be a automatic button. It could be just a auto button which is called in every 5 seconds, a button which is called whenever you land on your page, or you just want to open your modal on some action. So if I click on this, you can see a modal is open. The background is blurred. If you don't want to blur the background, you don't have to. You can just pass the prop and it won't be blurred. We have a custom close icon. We have a custom actionable button. We can just pass this content. This is a completely reusable modal that you can create from scratch and you can use in your own project. So let's get started with the coding part so that you can also create this particular reusable modal for your project. Now that you have seen the demo of the modals that we are going to create, let's get started with the coding part. So I'll continue in the UI library that I'm already creating. So if you haven't seen the previous videos of my UI library where we created a button, where we created cards, where we created drop downs, so do watch the videos. The links will be in the description, or it might be recommended to you by YouTube right now. So do watch it and you will get an idea that what kind of coding structure are we following, how we are creating our components, reusable components to be very precise, and how we are actually creating our classes. So in this video, we are going to create a modal, or if you are just watching this particular video where you want to learn how to create a modal, then also you can watch this. I'll be explaining each and every line of code that I'll be writing, so don't worry. So I have opened the UI library React application that I have already created. If you want to start from scratch, you can just go to your terminal, increase your size for the terminal so that you can see. Go to your destination folder, desktop let's say, and you can just use the command npx create react app and just create your modal or whatever application you want to create, and there you can write the code. It will look similar to this, the coding structure that I have right now. So as you can see, I have already created a button, a card and a drop down in the previous 3 videos. In this video, we are going to create modal. So first of all, we'll run the local server by npm start. This will fire up the development server. As you can see, we have nothing but just a heading called modal and developers 10. I have changed this text, the heading, to modal developers 10. So far nothing different. You can just create this on your own. You can give the styling on your own, or if you're using your own project, you have nothing relevant till now. Now if you want to implement a modal, what you can do is you can go to your component folder and create a folder called modal. And inside this, the coding structure that I follow, let me close this first of all and let me increase the size so that it's more visible. Now inside this components folder, as you can see, let me close this as well. Inside the modals folder, I will create an index.js file, and also I'll create a styling file called modal.css. Perfect. Now what I will do is I'll say RAFCE. So I use basically an extension called React.js snippets, which gives me the snippets by just typing these codes. So RAFCE is basically React arrow function and exported, and I'll rename this as modal. Now what I will do is I will import the style file here. I'll close this and also I'll save this and I'll close all others so that the focus is on this file only. So now I'll also import this style file here, import modal.css. Now my style file is imported. Now what I'll do is inside my app.js file, I'll import the modal component and I'll show it here. So I'll say modal and just show it here. I have to import it. Make sure that you are importing it from the right directory, right location, so that it doesn't give you an error. As you can see, the modal text is visible here. Now that we have already created a button, we can reuse that particular button here. So I'll say button, and then for the button, if you have watched the previous video, you must be knowing that we can pass certain props. The first one is button text. Let's give it a text of modal button. Open modal. Now if you don't want to use this button, if you want to use your own button, or if in your project you are already using a button, just give the functionality to this button so that your modal is open whenever you click on this particular button. So as you can see, this open modal button is here. Let me give this a type as well, type as primary. So if this thing is confusing you, don't worry, this is just a custom made button that we are using. This particular button we created in our previous video. If you want to know how we created this particular button, you can watch that particular video. I'm sorry. Now what we will do is we will use one. Okay, I'll also close this. So we will use a use state, basically a state to keep a track that whether or not my modal is open. Sorry. So I'll say const is modal visible. Set is modal visible. So what this is, basically this is a setting function for this particular state. So you can just name and give any name to your state, and with this function you can set the value for this particular state. So this is just a hook that we are using. If you want to learn more about this hook, you can go to React docs and you can read there. So by default my modal will be not visible. So I'll say it is false. Is modal visible is false. Now on button click, this is from previous video, we can remove these things. Now it's perfect. Now for my modal, I can pass these two things as props. So I'll say is visible, and then I'll just pass is modal visible. Now what this will do is, inside my modal, I'll check that whether or not this particular value is true, and if it is true, then only show the modal, otherwise don't show it. Similarly, we can have a cross button on the modal. So I'll say close modal. Now this cross button will have this particular functionality. What it will do is, close modal will call this particular function, which is set is modal visible, and it will set this as false. Perfect. Now what will happen, that whenever inside my modal, if I'll call this particular function, my modal will be set as not visible, and it will be visible only when this particular state is true. So what I can do right now is, for my button, I can say on button. Okay, I can just check the property name from here. It is on button click. So I'll say on button click. What I'll do is, I'll call a function, the set is modal visible, and I'll call this as true. Now what will happen, if I'll click on this particular button, if I'll refresh it, nothing is happening because I'll go to my modal, and here you get all of these props by default here. So I'll destructure it. So how to destructure in JavaScript is just you call the curly braces and you say as is visible, and you call this from your props. So basically we are destructuring is visible from your props. So props is an object which will contain whatever you pass on here. Is visible, close modal. So we are just destructuring is visible. We'll also destructure close modal function from here. Close modal. Perfect. Now what I'll say, that if is visible is true, and then only show this particular div. So this AND operator works like this only, that if the left hand side is true, then only the right hand side is rendered. So basically what will happen here, is visible is true, then only this particular div will be visible. Now you can see modal is not visible, but if I click on this, modal is visible. Now this is the entire functionality of opening a modal. So I hope you understood this particular part. Now what I'll do is, I'll give this a class name as modal. So this is my normal class name structure that I give. The wrapper class, I give it the same name as the component name. So now what I will do is, I'll open my style file, which is modal.css, and here I'll say modal. For this, I want it to be at the center, but before this, I want it to have a height of minimum height of 100 view height, and a minimum width of 100 view width. Perfect. Now if you can see, if I see, everything is distorted because I haven't given it a position of absolute. So I want it to stay above everything and at the center. So what I'll say, position as absolute. Now if you'll see, if I click on this particular modal is visible here. Now what I can do is I can say as background color. I want the background color to be a little blurry. So if you have ever seen a website where a modal is there, the background is slightly of different color so that your focus is on the modal only. So what I'll say I want to give it a background color of black. Now I can directly write as black, but it's a general practice that I follow is that I write all my color variables inside a variable file. So as you can see, I have declared all my colors: background, blue dark, faded gray, white, black, white shadow. So I did all of this in the first video. You can see there why I did it. So basically this is to change the value of variable at one place. So and your whole UI will be changed. So if you don't want to use the variable, you can just write black here. So now as you can see, if my modal is open, everything is black, nothing is visible. And also now what I can do is I want to set the opacity as 0.8 so that at least the little bit of background is visible. So this is it. And also the color as white so that whatever text is inside this particular modal, that will be visible. So again, I'm using a variable that I already declared. You can use the normal color white. As you can see, modal text is visible right now. Now I want everything to be at the center. Now this is a common practice to center everything inside a div by using flex box. So I'll say as display as flex, justify content as center, and align items at center. Now this will center everything. As you can see, this particular modal is at the center of this of this wrapper div. Now this is all about the background coloring, background effects that we want. Now we just have to style the inside of this modal. So inside of this, you must have seen that there is generally a cross icon in the every modal. So for this, but before this, what I will do is I'll create another div and I'll call this div as a modal content, so that we can style this particular content. Now I'll go to modal.css file and here I'll say modal content. Now for this, I want the background color to be white, so that okay, we haven't written anything inside it, so I can just say this is modal. Perfect. Now you can see this is a white color div that we have. Also, let me remove this particular color because I don't want the color to be white, since I'm giving a background color of white to the actual modal. So now you can see this is visible. For this, I want a padding first of all of 16 pixel. Perfect. Now also a border radius of 12 pixel will do. Border radius of 12 pixel. Great. Now this is the kind of modal that we want, that I showed you in the demo as well. So now we want a close icon on top. So for this, again, I want these three lines because I want everything to be at the center. And along with it, now what will happen if I'll give this property display as flex by default, everything will be in a row, but I want everything to be on top of each other. So I will say flex direction as column. Now this is perfect. Now what I will do is inside this modal, above this, I'll say I'll remove this text first of all, and I'll say there is another div. Inside this div, I want to place the close icon. So for this, I'm going to use tabular icons. So tabular icons is an open source SVG format icons that you can use. This is the size that I'm going to use, and this is the stroke width. You can play around with different stroke widths. You can play around with different size, different color, and these are free and open source to use. So I'll just search as X, and where is my icon? Okay, let me search the capital X. There must be a close icon. Yep. I'll just copy this. If you click on this, the SVG will be copied. Now what you have to do is you just have to paste it here like this. Now if you'll see your modal, you can see this is the close icon. Now you can give some class names to this. So I'll give it a class name as modal close icon, and the wrapper I can give it a class name of modal close. Perfect. Modal close and modal close icon. Now to style it, first of all, modal close. Now I want it to be at the extreme end of the modal. So whatever text or whatever content is inside this modal, let's say the width is going to be this much. I want this cross button to be at the extreme end. So for this, I want it to have a display property of flex, and I want the content to be at the end. So I'll say flex end. Now this will do. Now the next thing that I want is modal, where is it? Modal close icon, modal close icon. So for this, I want it to have cursor pointer so that you know that it is clickable. So now it is cursor pointer. So it's evident that this particular close icon is clickable. Now I want to implement the functionality for closing this particular modal. So I'll say on click. So whenever you click on this particular icon, I want this particular function to be called. So I'll say close modal. So as you can see, this particular close modal is declared here in app.js, which is set is modal visible to false. Sorry, this line set is modal visible to false. So what will happen if I click on this? My modal won't be visible anymore. So the functionality is working perfect. Now you see, if I click on this and by the time my cursor is on this button, the button is showing some effect. So to remove this, what I can do is I can go to my modal, the wrapper that we have, and I'll say z index as 99, let's say. Now what this will do, what is z index? Basically it stacks items on top of each other in CSS. So if I click on this, this particular wrapper is lying above everything else. Therefore the effect of the button is not shown. So now that particular issue is gone and our modal is opening and closing perfectly. Now we just need few things. So first of all, so I'll just close this. I need a modal heading here. So I'll say div, this is modal. Perfect. Now I'll call this as modal heading. Now this is modal. If I open this, this is modal. Okay, it is working fine. Also, this particular icon is not at the extreme end because I haven't declared the width of this particular close icon. So to declare the width of it, I'll go here and here I'll say as width as 100%. Take 100% of the content that is available. Now you can see this particular icon is at the extreme end and it is working perfectly. Now to set the style for modal heading, I'll say modal heading and I'll say just give it a font size of 24 pixel and give it a font weight of, let's say, 600 or 700. This should look perfect. 700 is too much. Let's just give it 600. Yep, looks good. And I want a letter spacing to be of 1.4 pixel. Yep, this looks good. So this is modal. You can just close it from here. As you can see, you can close it from here. Now suppose tomorrow I want some content inside this particular modal. So this is a reusable component, right? So I don't want to declare anything hard coded here. So what I will do is I'll pass some content from here. So I'll say modal content. Now whatever modal content I'll pass from here, I have to render it inside this particular modal. So first of all, I'll just destructure it. I'll say modal content and next to this div, I'll say modal content. Whatever modal content is available, just render it here next to the heading. So to declare this modal content, I have to create a component first of all here. Const modal content. Make sure that you are making it capital case so that React isn't confused. Now this is an arrow function that I'm creating and I'll say return a React node. So how am I returning a React node? I'll just call a div and let's say I'm passing an image to be shown inside my this React modal. So what kind of image? Let us say success illustration. Perfect. Success illustration. Let us say you made a transaction and your transaction was successful. So this particular illustration is shown. So I'll just copy image address. Also credits to Freepik for providing this image, whoever is the creator for this image. Again, this is just for learning purpose. I'm not using for any commercial purpose, so it's all right. I'll call an image tag and I'll call source. I paste this particular URL and I'll close this. Now you must be seeing there is a yellow line because I have to provide an alternate text. So I'll say this is success. Perfect. Now if you'll see, we have to pass this modal content inside this modal content. So I'll say modal content capital and call this. Now if you'll see, this image is being rendered, but it is taking too much of size and everything. So I'll just style it here. I'll say this as content image. Now I'll go to my app.css file and I'll style it here. So here it is. I'll just remove the modal here and it should be fine. So I want height to be as 240 pixel and width to be as 320 pixel. Now if you'll see, this particular image is showing perfectly. Now this modal is opening and closing. Whatever content you want to pass inside your modal, you can pass it from here. Now suppose tomorrow you don't want to show the heading. So for that, what you can do is you can just say here that show heading as false. Now inside this particular modal, I'll again destructure this particular component, show heading. So in this manner you can make your modal as much reusable as you want. So if this is this property is there, prop is there, what I'll say is I'll wrap this inside a curly braces and I'll say show heading. If this is true, then only show the particular heading. Now you can see the heading is not shown. So I want to show the heading, so I'll just say as true. Perfect. Now if you tomorrow you want to pass as custom heading, you can pass it from here as a prop. If you want to pass some button, you can pass it from here, and you can do anything that you want. Let's just add another button here to make the modal more reusable. So let's say here you want a button, so I'll say a button. I'm using again the same button that I have already created. You can use your own button, you can use your custom button, you can use anything. So suppose most of the modals have some actionable button, let's say take me to that particular page or something like that. So for that particular thing, also this particular modal content, let's give it an opacity of 1 so that it is far more visible. So I'll give it an opacity of 1 and I'll give it a Z index of more than the wrapper. So I'll say 100. Now this is how it looks. Now let's also, as I was telling, that most of the modals have some actionable button. So for this I'll just use this button. I'll say button text. This is some action. Perfect. Now you can see this is some tertiary button that I'm using. If I change the type of this button to as secondary, now this is how it looks. This looks perfect. If you want to close the modal, you can close it from here. So this is it. Our modal is completed. I hope you learned how to create a reusable custom modal for your own project without using any third-party library. So now you don't have to be dependent on any of the third-party library. So I hope you learned something. I have uploaded this video after a very long time. So make sure that you have liked the video. If you have any doubt, do comment it out. If you have any video request, comment it out. Again, a big thanks to Newton School for helping me make this video. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, make sure that you have subscribed to the channel so that you get a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you and bye bye.